China annexed Tibet back in the early 1950s itself, but it has failed to control the region till date. Tibetans hate China from the depth of their hearts and are baying to expel the CCP's intruders from their territories for decades. So, a frustrated CCP now wants to crush Tibetan culture altogether in a bid to tighten its control over the Tibetan region. But guess what? Mongolia is the biggest hurdle in China's way of vaporizing the Tibetan culture. Let me explain how. Hi and welcome to TFI Global, the foreign affairs and geopolitical analysis arm of the TFI Media Group. I am your host Sanbir, and in this video I will tell you why China is on a mission to end Tibetan Buddhism and only Mongolia can save this ancient tradition from the evil hands of the communist nation. Let's begin. Mongolia, a lesser-known nation sandwiched between Russia and China, holds a key position in shaping the future of Tibetan Buddhism. In 2016, when the Dalai Lama was visiting Mongolia, he announced that the Jetsun Damba Kutuktu, considered the third most important Lama after the Dalai Lama and the Panchen Lama, was born. The last and the ninth Jetsun Damba Kutuktu had died back in 2012. Now, the 14th Dalai Lama has the power to identify the next Kutuktu in Mongolia. The process to identify the third highest spiritual figure of Tibetan Buddhism had already begun in 2016 itself. And that's where regional geopolitics comes into the picture. When the 14th Dalai Lama announced the rebirth of Kutuktu in 2016, it invited a fierce reaction from Beijing. Beijing has always questioned the Dalai Lama's authority over announcing reincarnations. Instead, it insists on announcing the new lamas on its own terms. By doing so, Beijing will be able to dilute Tibetan Buddhism by superimposing it with communist ideology.
Hey, it's me Atul. I started this channel. We started small, we went big. Suddenly, the whitey police was after us. We dodged and ducked, but the algos got us really bad. So we designed our own app. It's free. We never asked for money, we never will. But the droid called us too sensitive and blocked us. We still have an Apple app. Join us and fast, because if you don't, we will cease to exist. Check out the link in the description.
Make no mistake, the Panchen Erdeni, the second most important Lama, has already been recognized by Dharamsala. However, the top spiritual figure was kidnapped by Beijing years ago, and China contested the Dalai Lama's choice by instating one on its own terms. Adding to that, the Dalai Lama's own succession is also a major trouble for China. China desperately wants to identify the next incarnation, but the Lama suggested back in 2015 that he might end his spiritual lineage and not reincarnate in future. If that happens, this would be a nightmare scenario for Beijing. If the Dalai Lama identifies the next Jetsun Damba Kutuktu in Mongolia and refuses to incarnate in the future, it will simply erode China's power to wield its influence over Tibetan Buddhism in both Tibet and Mongolia. China's choice of the Panchen Lama will not be accepted by Tibetan Buddhists in Mongolia, since the authority to identify him rests with the 14th Dalai Lama alone. This way, the Jetsun Damba Kutuktu, identified by the Dalai Lama, will become the most important Lama for Tibetan Buddhists across the world. To prevent its worst fears from coming to realization, China has been trying to dominate Mongolian Buddhism by promoting Shugdenism in Mongolia. The Shugdenites present themselves as a genuinely Mongolian sect with deep historical and religious ties to the country, and their deity, Dorje Shugden, is technically a spirit worshipped across all four schools of Tibetan Buddhism. China supports this sect through its United Front program. Hence, if the 14th Dalai Lama fails to identify the next Jetsun Damba Kutuktu, China will get a free pass to appoint the next leader by wielding its influence over the Shugdenites. Tightening its grip over Tibet is a top agenda for the Chinese Communist Party, given rising resentment among Tibetans. A top Chinese official in Tibet even visited monasteries in and near the Tibetan capital of Lhasa this week to warn monks against behavior considered disloyal to the ruling Chinese Communist Party. China wants to crush Tibetan culture and wants to stamp its authority over the region. However, Mongolia is proudly standing its way to materialize its ambitions. For the Mongolian government, preserving the Tibetan culture is a matter of national security. The country is right at the center of the fight to control Tibetan Buddhism. It's in the interest of all that the 14th Dalai Lama concludes the process of identifying the 10th Jet Sundamba Kutuktu as soon as possible and accord Mongolian Buddhist monasteries with the supreme legitimacy over Tibetan Buddhism. And once that happens, it will scuttle China's ambitions of controlling the Tibetans once and for all.